experiments 8 and 9, we're going to be generating a couple of cooling curves, which are a lot like the heating curve problems you work in class, only with negative signs. So they're losing heat instead of gaining heat or thermal energy. I'm going to do a little bit broadly because it's the same technique for both labs. In some instances, you'll work with what's starting off as a liquid. In this case, I'll use what's starting off as a solid. You're going to take your weigh paper and put it on the balance and tare the balance as we showed in the earlier module. You'll use your metal spatula to get about a gram of sample. We never want to leave our spatula sitting in an open container. We always want to take our tools out and cap it. We don't want to have any open containers in the lab. And I made a mess a little bit here. If you spill all of your sample, or if you have more than you can use, it goes in solid waste. We're not going to throw it in the trash, even though it looks harmless. Even the paper towel that you used, we're putting all of it in solid waste, and this will be over in the hood. When you're starting off with a solid, you can't really gauge temperature, so what you're going to do is put it in a hot water bath. So you're going to use the hot plate, and you can see some warm water here, and you're going to melt that. Before you start using the Pasco probe system, the temperature probe, you're going to calibrate it. This is a dry ice acetone bath. We're not going to put a thermometer or a temperature probe in that. It's too cold. So we'll have an ice water bath, and we will just calibrate the system to 0 in an ice water bath. And then in our warm water bath, we'll calibrate that to the temperature reading between 40 and 50 degrees, and we'll have our thermometer in there, and whatever the reading on the thermometer is, that's what we'll enter in. So once we have melted our sample, we're going to put our temperature probe in the molten sample, and are going to be careful not to touch the very bottom of the test tube. And then we'll put it either in an ice water bath or dry ice acetone. You can use a ring clamp. So as soon as I put this in my molten sample, I click start on the computer, and it generates a cooling curve. I'm going to keep it in my ice water bath or dry ice acetone bath just for an extra minute or two to complete the cooling curve. Now what I don't want to do, now that my experiment is complete, I don't want to just remove the probe from my solid sample. I need to reheat it so that I don't break the probe. I have to reheat this before I remove the probe. So since I'm not recording data, I can just rest that over there. Once that has become molten again, it can't go in solid waste, it's going to go in organic waste. And I'm going to rinse my test tube out with acetone. And once it's molten, I'm going to wipe off my temperature probe with paper towels. I'm going to throw the paper towels in solid waste. And again, whatever molten sample is left, I'm going to rinse with acetone in a squeeze bottle, and I'm going to empty it into organic waste. In experiment 9, you're going to be dealing with liquids and freezing liquids instead of melting a solid and then freezing, and you'll follow this procedure the same way. So this is the major technique for experiments 8 and 9.